read the poster. It says the early tour.
We're 3 years later, you know.
Yeah, and but after, I don't know what year it was. I think it was after the 5th year. I said, all right, we got to start expanding. You know, we got to start doing something different. We can't just do the same. Even though we never do the same set twice. We either add something or drop something and rearrange something. Never. If you've seen us once and you see us again, you will not see the same show, and I'm quite proud of that. But about the 5th year, I was like going, I don't want to keep playing just these same 25 songs. And that's when we started to creep into Destroyer and Rock and Roll Over and Alive 2. And then in 2020, January of 2020, for certain, it was me and Kevy had been in for a long time, Jace had been in for a long time, and Gonzo had just joined. I said, I have an idea. I said, starting now, in 2020, we're going to do the 1975 tour. 2021, we'll do 76. 2022, 77. 2023, we'll do 78. 2024, we'll do 79. We'll get the costumes and learn the sets and blah, 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 and the songs. And everybody's like, wow, what a great idea. Then COVID hit 2 months later and shut everything down for a year and a half. And then in the interim, Jace left, and we got Top Jimmy back. And then it was just kind of really hard to get gigs because you had a lot of bands that hadn't played in a long time. And the clubs needed people to eat and drink and dance, not sit there with their mouths open taking photos. So there were a lot of bands getting booked over us because we weren't what I like to call a variety dance band, like Hollywood Boulevard or Rough House or Rock Gods. And nothing against those guys, because I've played with all of them and I'm still friends with all those guys. But the clubs wanted those types of bands versus the tribute bands, which reinforced me creating the MSP Trib Fest just for tribute bands. And those other variety bands, you know, be like, hey, you know, you ever need you ever want a 5th band? I'm like, dude, you got to it's a tribute. You got to do one band, and you have to do it well, you know. And there was a band that like drew from like Zeppelin and I can't think of the other band. They did like 50-50. And like, well, we do kind of Zeppelin and this. I said, no, you want to do all Zeppelin? Great. Or the other band? Great. But no, this is a tribute to like the old days of the festivals back in the 70s and 80s where you'd go see 5-6 bands in one day. In Des Moines, it was called the Iowa Jam. And there'd be like 5 bands. And I remember one that I went to had Night Ranger, Accept, Motley Crue, Ozzy Osbourne, and Ted Nugent. And that was kind of my idea. That was kind of my idea, but with tribute bands, because a lot of those bands are broken up or the guys are dead or whatever, you know. And, or weren't touring anymore. You know, Crue said they were done. Mick Mars said, if there's another Motley Crue tour, the tickets are free, and they called him out on it. And, you know, and it's like, where's our free tickets? So anyway, that was the idea. And there was a lot of, we had a Vinnie Vincent in the band for a while. I don't name names, but we had a Vinnie Vincent character in our, not on stage, but in real life. We've had multiple drummers like Kiss did. We've had multiple guitar players like Kiss did. There was a show.
Who would be in the history of your band? Who would be the J.J. French who was in Ricky Lester but went on to a different band?
Mick Rotella.
There you go. Okay.
Because Mick went on. Okay. Yeah, he went on to Atomic Playboys, who I did play with.
Oh, okay. So there's your J.J. in the band then.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Like I said, you know, sometimes. When I'm driving long trips, I'll think back to the history of what I've done, and I just start grinning because on a micro scale, I got to experience what Kiss went through.
Right.
The money wasn't there and the fame wasn't there, but sometimes the recognition was there. I'll tell you, I'm in another band called Bang Gang. It's a Tommy Bolin tribute. And I did a show on May 29th in Somerset with Bang Gang. And when I walked off the stage and I sat down, the band that came up after us, who were they? Outlaw Saint. Guitar player goes, "Hey, we got Star Child in the audience tonight. Let's give him a round of applause." And I'm like, and people like looking around, because I wasn't in my costume, you know.
Yep.
And then after the show, I go, "How do you know me?" Because I am not dressed up like him. And I said, "You seen me?" He goes, "Yeah, I've seen it. I know who you are." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And like I said, on a micro scale, I got to go through what they went through. And
how many shows does Kissin Time do a year, roughly?
Well, the busiest we ever were was 2017. We did 19 shows. The slowest year we've ever done, I think, was six. That's the problem. That has always been the problem with Kissin Time. Guys that are in Kissin Time always have another band that they're playing regularly with. And so it gets hard to book the shows. It's hard for a couple reasons. Like I said, we're not a dance, Guns N' Roses, Bon Jovi, Def Leppard dance band, so they tend to shy away from us. We like to play shows with one or two other bands, and that they tend to steer away from us. But the other thing is, I notice with the guys, the more we play, the shorter their stint in the band becomes, and because it's so much work. Like Joe Marvelous, Joe left and came back. He left for a couple years and came back, and I love Joe, but Joe's passion is his original band called A River High. It's kind of a Christian rock thing. And when Joe was leaving the second time, I'm like, "Joe, why do you want to go?" And he goes, "Same reason I left the first time, dude." He goes, "The costume and the makeup is 2 hours to do a 90-minute show. It takes us longer to get ready than to do the show. And then we got to take all this stuff off." And he said, and I go, "Is it about the money, Joe?" And he goes, "I don't even know if we got paid way more than we do now, if that would offset it. Because he goes, the thing that he really didn't like was the 2 hours to get ready." But the weird thing was, Joe was one of the few guys that loved to practice. "Joe, you want to practice Thursday?" "Yeah, I'm there." He loved playing the tunes.
If he did the on-makeup tour, he'd be all in.
Yeah, kinda, because he left Kissin Time, and then I called him, and he was in my solo band, Star Child, where I came out as Paul, but my backing band, they wore black suits and sunglasses, and each member had a different colored tie, like a red, a blue, and a purple, I think, by and large. And then we just did a bunch of Kiss tunes, and in the tradition of true Paul Stanley solo shows, ended with a cover tune or several cover tunes. Paul always liked to end with Led Zeppelin, and I tended to end it with Tommy Bolin because I'm from his neighborhood and I work for his brother and the Tommy Bolin estate. And I call my bass player, Star Child, man, it was a revolving door of guys. They might do, if they did 3 shows in a row, I was lucky. And I called Joe and I said, "Hey, I need a bass player for this show coming up. Are you interested?" He goes, "Yeah, I'll do one show." And Joe stuck around for a while. And he's like, "Yeah, it's cool. I don't know." He goes, "My wife and daughter, my original band, I don't know if I got the time." And then I called him and I said, "Joe, I need you to do this Kissin Time show." It was a Halloween show in Minneapolis. And he's like, you know I don't want to do it, but I'm not going to let you down. And so he came back, and he did great, and I love playing with him, but he's just, after a while, it's like, I don't like 2 hours getting ready for an hour and a half show. And you can't change that. And
now we're based out here in the West Metro in Carver County. Do you guys ever play like Medina or anything out west here at all?
We haven't played Medina. I have contacted them many times, and they tend to book the national Kiss tributes like Strutter or Kiss Army, those national ones. And by the way, I have been called upon to sub for those nationals. So yeah, I was flattered by that. I remember when I got the call, and they said, we need a Paul for this one show in Boston. And I go, yeah. They said, we looked over your pictures, we watched your videos, your recording, and yeah, you're pretty good. They said, you definitely will work for this one show, maybe more down the road. And I said, yeah, I'm in, let's go. And the problem there, that is what gave me the idea to do the different tour every year. Because I had to learn all these rock and roll over Love Gun tunes and Dynasty tunes for Kiss Army. And I was telling the guys in Kissin Time about this, and I'm like, yeah, I'm learning all these new tunes. And they're like, yeah? And I go, yeah. And I said, what do you guys think about it? And I said, well, the idea is the early tour. And I said, yeah, I know. And so, fine, I'll just keep doing them in Star Child. And that's I would do newer songs in Star Child, and then they'd see it, and they're like, well, why don't we start doing it then? On the west side, we played, it was way southwest. They had a bar in front and a bowling alley in the back. I can't think of it, and I was always mispronouncing the name. And we've done St. Cloud. Our first live album was recorded in St. Cloud. We used to have a residency at Lee's before they tore it down. Fridley, we played Fridley, I don't know how many times,
Is that Ziggy's down there, or 47s or whatever?
47, Route 47.
Yep.
Yeah. I'd say 10 times at Route 47, probably. There's just not a lot of places west. The thing you got to remember for us, in addition to what I've already covered, set lists and people eating and drinking and dancing, there's got to be enough room.
Right.
I am not just going to go up there and make up costumes and crank out, I Was Made for Loving You and Love Gun. We've got the whole show, and now this year, I don't know how we're going to do this, but we fit it all in one van until earlier this year. A lot of our gear was stolen out of the warehouse. So again, micro scale, I got to live what Kiss did, because in 70, they got their loft broken into and all their gear was stolen. And they talked about it frequently, and I never thought much of it till it happened to me. And then when it happens to you, it's like, oh, yeah, now I get it. So our gear, a lot of our gear got stolen in the first part of this year, and we started replacing some of it. And now it's going to take 2 vans to get the show there. And I'm like going, boy, that's that much more work, but it looks that much more cool. There's certain places that we just can't fit into, and we played Baselacks one time. It was really hard. 2 reasons. It was in December, and their dressing room isn't heated, so we had to heat up our makeup to get it on our face. We had to. There's 2. Well, I'm not giving away the secrets, but there's 2 ways to do it. And for all you other guys who want to ride on my coattails, you start your own band. Figure it out yourself. There's 2 ways to heat it up.
Google it.
Yeah, Google it. there's two ways to do it, and we did it one way at Lee's because their heat went out, and we did a different way at Mayslax. But Mayslax, the stage was so small. Every time I took a step, I almost fell over because I was standing on a stand or a cord or a monitor. And it isn't that I wouldn't play Mayslax again, because we were scheduled to 2 times after that, but in all honesty, somebody screwed it up for us, and that's why they didn't have us back. But the stage was really not big enough to hold us. And there's another place. I went there to see my friend's band, and I went and talked to the owner, and he says, yeah, I'm interested in getting you here. And I was looking at the setup, and I was like, the stage is not big enough, and where the people stand, it's not big enough, because it was half a restaurant and half a bar, I guess, like Mayslax. And the place where the band was half the size of where the bar was. And I was like, man, this is just not conducive. It's not that I don't want to play some of these places, but if we got to get it has to be a win-win. We have to get enough people in there to make it worthwhile for the bar to have us there. Yeah. And if the place is simply too small, it's a lose-lose. So, now here's the thing that this really is, to quote Gonzo, fingernails on the chalkboard for me. I get questions all the time about set lists and where we play and this and that and the other thing. And so fortunately, don't edit. We're being recorded. Don't edit this part out. Okay. If you want to know about Kissin Time's history, go to Kissin Time Minneapolis Facebook. Go to the photos section. Go under the albums section. There is a photo album for every single show we've ever done. Photos from the show, videos from the show, the set list from the show, and because people, I get asked for that all the time.
Well, sir, now, go ahead. So what I was gonna say is your Facebook page is a great page. I love that. And you got your shop there. Do you advertise? Do people come into your shop looking? Also, is that a place to contact you if they want the band to play? Is coming to the shop?
Oh yeah, all the time, all the time. There was a guy in here last week. He was buying something, and he said, I said thank you, and he said no, thank you, and I looked at him, and well, dude, you're giving me money, and I'm giving you product, thank you for. And he was like, I know who you are, and I said, yeah, and he goes, yeah, if you want to thank me, come down and jam with my band, and I go, who do you think I am? He goes, you're the guy in Kissin Time. And I go, oh, okay, yeah. And so, yeah, people can find me here. That's it. The weird thing about Mr. Zeros is there's a lot of Kiss merchandise in here. And the reason for that is every time we do a show, it's sponsored by Mr. Zeros. And people would show up with truckloads of Kiss merchandise that they wanted to get rid of. And, yeah, truckloads. And in the beginning, it was great. Yeah, we'll buy this. But after year 5, 6, 7, it's like, guys, if you want to give us this, we'll take it. But we've got so much of this. And for the, starting in 2015 through about 2017, we used, during 100,000 years, where, I got a question for you. I have a question for the wild people over here. I used to throw Kiss merchandise into the crowd during that section because we had so much of it and we couldn't sell it at the store. And
probably Buckethead does throwing toys out to the crowd,
Yeah. In fact, I booked a Buckethead tribute 2019, and they were on before us. And he came out of the crowd, started handing out toys. I'm like, after the show, I go, dude, why did you steal my gimmick? And he goes, no, that's what Buckethead does. And he goes, I thought you took it from Buckethead. I said, no, I actually stole the idea from Cheap Trick. I said, during Surrender, Cheap Trick used to throw Kiss records out into the crowd. because there's the line in the song is Mom and Dad are rocking and rolling on the couch, got my Kiss records out. Well, Rick Nielsen of Cheap Trick in the 70s used to throw Kiss records into the crowd.
Interesting.
And at the Trip Fest that you guys were at, the Cheap Trick band came back to me and she goes, "Did you bring any Kiss records with you?" And I go, "No." She goes, "Well, I wanted to throw a Kiss record out during Surrender." And I go, "Here." And I gave her a Kissin Time one. I said, "It's close enough."
Yeah. Well, I would like to thank you for being on. It's been great having you on here. Maybe we'll have you on in the fall sometime. We'll go over Kiss history and Kiss trivia and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'll tell you on that quickly. I know we've gone way over our time, and I'm not nearly done talking about myself. But before the internet, I started working on a book called "Send in the Clowns," and this guy Kurt Gooch called me. And he said, "I hear you think you have the Kiss show from Sioux City in 1982. And I said, "No, I do have that." And he said, "Would you mind playing it over the phone for me?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's that back then you paid for long distance." I said, "Yeah, it's your money, I don't care." So I played it for him, and he goes, "How did you get that?" And I said, "Well, I taped it. I was in the front row, and I taped it." And he goes, "So we're working on this book, Kiss Alive Forever, with every concert they ever performed, every set list." And I said, "Okay." And I said, "Well, I'm doing the same thing called Send in the Clowns." And they go, "Well, no matter how far you are, we're way ahead of you. So just, if you want credit, turn over what you have into our book, and we'll give you credit." And I said, "That way, at least it'll get out." And I said, "Yeah, okay." So they interviewed me for 8 hours, and I submitted 28 concerts that I personally recorded, which now one of them is going to be, they just announced they're releasing it this fall, Des Moines 77, November of 77. I had a recording of it that I turned into those guys, but unbeknownst to me, they recorded it on the soundboard. So that's very exciting news for me. The book comes out, and it didn't do too well. So Kurt had this idea to re-release the CDs, and he did a round table of 25 guys, just like this, called them on a phone conference call. And I was number 24 of 25. So I am not claiming that I'm the expert. I'm claiming at the time, I was at the bottom of the list. And he comes around and he says, "What do you think about reissuing the CDs?" And I said, "Worst idea you've ever had." And he goes, and he was kind of offended. "Oh, really?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "No Kiss fan wants to buy these a third time." I said, "If you want to release something, do a DVD for every 2 albums, for the first 2, the third and fourth, fifth, sixth. Put a DVD out, and if you want to include a CD as a bonus, go ahead. But nobody's going to buy another round of CDs." And he says, "That's the greatest thing I've ever heard." So he went back to the number 23 through 1 and said, "What do you think?" And they're like, "That's the best idea ever." And hang on one second. How you doing today? Yep. He said this. So Kurt and what's the guy's name? Jeff. Kurt and Jeff. This is what we got to do. So they wrote up a proposal and sent it into Universal Records to put out these DVDs, and then it went across Gene's desk, of course. And Gene calls up Kurt and says, "There is no way you are going to put out any of my catalog." And Kurt said, "Well, I can lease it. Your current agreement allows for leasing, and I can lease it." And he goes, "Not without my approval." Shortly after that, the Kiss 3 box sets were released.
Wow.
So, wow. And now if I was going to make up something, it would be better than that. But the Kiss 3 box sets were initially my idea. That Kurt took to Gene, and Gene put them out himself.
Did Gene at least send you a Christmas card or a thank you or anything, or no?
No, but one time I got an email from him that said I had to write him a thank you note. When it was, see, I never wrote this stuff down. It just was, it happened, and I laughed, and I wrote it, and I sent it off, and I would say it was probably, I would guess 2016. I got a email from him, not probably his assistant more accurately, but
right.
You know, from the office of Gene Simmons, you are in a Kiss tribute band, and I want a thank you note for allowing you to do what you do on something I created. And I kind of remember my response. It was like, if I can't believe all you want is a thank you. I said, I am enamored by you in so many different ways. Of course, Kiss, because we do that. And I said, but to me, the thing that really impresses me is you're an immigrant born in another country, come to America, you don't even speak the language, and you become one of the most successful rock stars and businessmen on the planet Earth. And I said, it's an amazing story. Even if you weren't in Kiss, I would be like, how cool is that? And I don't know, my thank you was about a paragraph. I sent it off, and they didn't answer. But no, I've been in the music biz a long time, and it works like this. I was trying to get on with Universal Records in the reissue department, and they agreed to do an interview with me, and we met for a meeting, with lunch/meeting, and they told me to bring in 3 proposals for what I had, and I brought in 3, and the first one, they're like, yeah, we already got a CD out for that band. And I said, yeah, but it's not very encompassing. I said, it would be a good starter CD, but you could do a much better job, and here's what you could do. And they're like, nah, what's next? And I said, well, here's this band. And they go, you know the story on that. That's locked up in legalities. Nobody can touch that right now. And I said, well, okay, I do know that, but you asked for ideas. They go, well, what's your third one? And I said, oh, Black and Blue. They were on Geffen Records. All their stuff's out of print. It should be, I said, you should have a best of or a greatest hits out there. I get asked for it all the time. And they're like, Black and Blue? Who's going to buy that? And who's going to buy that? And I go, well, there's a lot of people out there for it. And I said, and on that, Tommy Thayer was not in Kiss yet. He was still like the road manager or whatever. And I said, well, Gene Simmons produced I think 2 of the 5 records, and I said, but Peter Criss appeared on one of those. And I said, so Kiss fans are going to buy it because it's produced by Gene Simmons. Gene wrote the songs and performed on a couple of them. And I said, but Peter Criss is on it. And I said, and I said, there is a demand for it. And they said, if we give this the green light, do you think we could sell 5,000 in the first year? And I go, I don't know. I said, what do reissues usually sell? And they go, well, that's the green light. It's 5,000. And I said, well, I don't know that I can guarantee that any more than you can. And this meeting was in the springtime because it wasn't snowing anymore, but it was still cold. And that fall, guess what came out? Best of Black and Blue. Nice. But they said, they said, if we get green lights on these, you're not getting paid. And I said, I understand how it works. It's quid pro quo, and you got to do it for, the word escapes me right now. I can't think of the word pro bono. I said, if I get enough of these out, then you guys can hire me. And I said, all I want is my name on there, the compilation by or whatever, blah, 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 blah. And they're like, yeah, I don't know. If we can't sell 5,000 the first year, we're not going to do it. Boom. 6 months later, it was out. So
your name on
and
there?
I called Jason and I go, he wouldn't answer the phone. I left him a message. Jason, I saw you put out the bag of black and blue. I thought you weren't really sold on that idea. And he never called me back. So that's how it works, man. No, everybody's out there stealing from everybody else. And Robert Plant said this. He goes, everybody steals from everybody else. The problem is if you become famous, then they catch you.
Yep. Well, I'd like to thank you for your time today, Mr. Zero.
Yes, thank you.
No problem.
Lots of information. We'd love to have you on again. Like on the phone, we'll go over more history and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And we'll set them up. Any other plugs for the store or the bands you want to give out one last time?
Yes.
Websites or Facebook pages?
100%. Mr. Zero's in Roseville, 55113. We've been here 13 years. We sell records and CDs, Nintendo and Sega, VHS and DVDs, and toys in the package. You can go, there is Mr. Zero's website that you can go to for information. We don't sell on the website. You got to come to the store. Kissin Time, Minneapolis on Facebook. Go to the events. You can see our upcoming shows. We have a show this Sunday, July 3rd in Hinckley, Minnesota at the casino. We're doing 3 sets. We don't really do that. This might be the second or third time in our history to do 3 sets. And they're all different. No repeats. So you're not going to hear Rock and Roll All Night 3 times. You can, if you, like I said, if you want to know about past shows and songs we've done, go to the photo album and the Facebook for Kissin Time. Mr. Zero's, you can find him on everything. YouTube, Instagram, Pinterest, MySpace, Twitter, Tumblr, Facebook. I probably forgot one. We have our own website, of course. Also, I write a monthly music column for Rosevillepatch.com. It's going to be published any day now called Shock Value, where there's a brief section on Kiss there. But if you want to read excerpts from my book that has not been released, Send in the Clowns, go to Rosevillepatch.com under Mr. Zero's /Kiss. There's somewhere between 7 and 11 articles on Kiss from my book that I haven't finished yet. I also do a weekly column for TwinCitiesBuzz.com, and I'm down to 1 radio show now, Sundays, 7:30 a.m. on WDGY out of Hudson, St. Paul, with 7:40 a.m., 92.1 FM, 103.7 FM, and digital, I think, is 107.1. But I do, primarily my radio show is one artist in a 30-minute period, start to finish. And if I can't do it in one show, I do it in 2, sometimes 3. But I have done Kiss shows. I did the live show stuff, the top 40 hits, which a lot of people argued with me on that. And I said, Google it. Rocket Ride was number 39 in 1978. I'm sorry, these are facts. There are songs that they say, no, these are the hits. No, go check the Billboard charts. They're not what you think. And then I did a show on Paul, Gene, and Ace, and Peter. And the cool thing on the solo member shows, I played one song for each of those guys that most people have never heard. And so if you're a huge fan, I guarantee you're like, whoa, I didn't know about that. Those you can hear at MrZeros.com under the podcast key for free. If they're still posted. They only hold about 2 years worth. And this is my 5th year, so I don't know what's up there. Also, very important, I'm in the band Bang Gang, which is a tribute to Tommy Bolin. We're playing Sioux City, Iowa on August 6th at 3 p.m. at the Icky Nickel. That's very important to me. Tommy, I'm from his neighborhood, and that's a whole nother story. You can also read about that on Rosevillepatch.com. So I would love a copy of this because a guy was talking to me today about being in the entertainment biz, and he goes, do you ever watch your own movies or the shows? And I said, loosely, because if it's a 30-minute segment, I want to know what they used. I want to hear what they used. Because I just did a guest spot on a radio show in March, and I finally got a copy of it because I wanted to hear what they used of my interview, and it wasn't much.
Interesting.
We'll use all of it. We want to make it a two-parter, but we're using all of it, so I'll tell you that right now. So.
Awesome.
Right.
Yeah, it's very good. Thanks again for your time.
I want to thank you guys for bothering to be interested in talking to me.
Yeah.
It was our pleasure, sir.
Fun
like
stuff.
I said,
Fun
like I told you
stuff.
at the concert, 8-year-old me is just all youthful memories. I appreciate it.
Well, you guys can go post your link on Mr. Zero's Facebook. I'll take it from there and spread it on our other links because I promote anybody that will promote us. So
Awesome.
Consider it done. It'll be up there by tomorrow morning.
Awesome.
all right.
Good luck on the show on the
Thanks,
3rd.
guys.
All right. Talk to you
Bye.
later. See ya.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, Andy,
That's a two-parter.
I think so. We're still here recording, but this is good. They're going to be promoting. We're going to promote that July 3rd show is going to be huge for the watchers out there. I've got it up right now. The poster for that show. That should be awesome. And for those watching here on the webcam, I do have my Kissin Time T-shirt on. It's called the 74 Tribute, and I think Andy, you have the same one. And their poster, like we said earlier, their poster actually does say for the upcoming one 75 Tribute. So you got to look closely at these. They're doing various tributes for Kiss for the various time periods. And once again, they'll be at the Rival House up there. It's under free entertainment and events, Grand Casino at the Rival House. So that's where they're performing July 3rd.
And never the same show twice. That's got to be a great thing, too. When you'll see a band and you see them a year later, it's the same show again. Oh, that's kind of boring. If there's never the same show twice, why would you not want to keep going?
Excellent. You know? It's true. It's true. And here's the various ways the listeners can get in contact with us for Sports and Songs. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I'm showing the link right there. We have a YouTube channel and a blog post as well. So we've got everything else out there. We'll put this out there. We'll help promote the show. And feel free to leave your comments down there below for questions possibly the next time we interview. We're going to have Mr. Zero on again, hopefully for a roundtable discussion, some trivia, some questions for him. Very well connected in that in the Kiss crowd. And like I said, he's done some podcasts also on Three Sides of the Coin, which is another one we haven't even brought up yet, but that's a very interesting podcast as well. So until next time, any other questions, Andy, before we wrap up?
Just everybody have a safe 4th of July. Like I said, this is probably a two-part episode, so some of you are hearing this after his Hinkley show, some before. But like I said, he's got that show coming up in Iowa with the Bang Gang, Tommy Bolin tribute. That's good stuff to listen to there. Look up Tommy Bolin on your Google machine, the different music he's done in the past too. Very talented musician.
Awesome. All right. Thanks. We'll see you next time.
All right, talk to you later.
See you.